Hey there, it's Peter King. I want to welcome you all to my creepy cafe um, with my hosts Sarah and Vanessa. Thank you for being here, guys.
Thanks for
If you
having us.
have any, no worries, any recommendations for any future episodes or comments, please leave them. I'll leave it all over to you to give me your top five. Go ahead, guys.
Well, my in no particular order, my first film would be the original A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984. It's a really good film. I think that Robert Englund plays Freddy Krueger, the main character, the best. He's creepy, he's funny, and I don't think there's anything more scary than someone who can kill you in your dreams.
No, there is not. I dream every night.
A little bit different. Obviously, I'm drawn to stories that are more psychological, more so where the monster isn't born evil, but it's created through neglect, abuse, silencing, or misunderstanding. So my number one would be Annabelle, and it's a bit of a controversial take, because I don't personally see Annabelle as a possessed doll. It's not a simple possessed doll story for me. It's more about an abused spirit that wanted to exist in our realm, made an agreement with, the wrong adults. And when the spirit's true form is discovered via a mirror, it's rejected, abandoned, locked away in a cupboard. And then after that, they bring in children and they're looking after the children like that wanted to be loved, and they're flaunting that, and everything escalates. Not because the entity is inherently evil, but because it's reacting to trauma, rejection, and confinement. So, what people call evil behavior, I see as reactive abuse, especially in situations where, a young child spirit in this sense, or a young entity, has been rejected, abandoned, isolated, and then had the love that it wanted so much flaunted in front of it. So, after mistreatment, it becomes quite dangerous. And that's what makes Annabelle unsettling. The horror comes from adults failing to protect, not from the spirit itself. And if you do watch that, spoiler alert, they are bad parents. Neither of them are supervising the child. And at the end of the day, I think there's elements throughout that, that reflect how you treat people, is, how people, or even energies, entities in this case, how they're going to respond.
Thanks for that take, Sarah. Yeah, number five on my list, it was hard to pick, is Misery. I know who's directed by, and as a lot of people say his movies are quite controversial, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, I watched it Christmas Star, I think it was. I know it's not a Christmas movie, but it's set in snow, so there's that kind of comparison. I remember watching it for the first time, and I thought to myself, this is the first time I ever felt sorry for a character, really. In Kathy Bates, I know what she did in the past was quite evil, but I understand why she did it. Number four would be is actually Saw from 2004, the original. I mean, that was my first proper I remember watching the first night it came on TV. And I thought to myself that I don't like that, a type of horror, I don't know, uh, killing horror. I don't like all that there, but I started to like it, and I've watched the series over. It hasn't been as good as the original, I must say, but I could never escape any of them traps. I'd be literally killed within minutes.
I like numerical order. So number two, Lights Out. Lights Out is again psychological, supernatural. It's one of the cleverest metaphors for trauma attachment I've ever seen. So the entity is a young girl who's hospitalized and attaches to a friend. And she has issues with sunlight and has reactions to that. So they do experiments on her until one day she just disappears. There's just black, you know, ash sort of left over from her, and nobody knows what happened, where she went, or anything. And again, it's another child that's isolated, can't go outside like the other children, can't socialize like the other children. and latches on as a spirit to a best friend. But this film is very uncomfortable because it shows how unhealed trauma can turn into harm. Instead of being a supportive entity, she tends to start to dictate to her best friend on how to live and even puts her children in jeopardy. So it's quite scary to think about how trauma can become dangerous. And when someone feels entitled to another person's life or safety, I mean, it's not just scary, it's psychologically accurate. So that would definitely be number two on my list.
Very interesting. These choices, you said they've changed over coming weeks or so. Is there a reason for that? No, or just
Yeah, because the first list I gave you was just sort of off the top of my head. I can't even remember it. I
yeah,
am a movie buff, so when people say what's your favorite movie, I'll say what genre.
Yeah.
And then there's quite a few, and then it depends on what mood you're in. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I'm not
you're
that black
okay.
and white.
Well, my next one would have to be The Greasy Strangler from 2016. It's a really bizarre film. It's got some weird characters. It's highly quotable. It's definitely very different and a little bit disgusting in places for some people. But if you're into like really weird, just out there films with an ending which may not always make a lot of sense, but it's a lot of fun still, definitely check that one out.
Oh yeah, I watched that. Um, but when it came out, weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. But I really
Yeah, I
enjoyed
agree. I'm sure I had bizarre dreams after watching that one. Very strange.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go on to my number three, girls. That's all right. My number three is a well, you call it a comedy, is Idle Hands. I don't know why I like that. I've watched that many times over the years, even though I wasn't supposed to. You know, all these scary movies. I was told, don't you be watching them when I go to bed? And I go, okay, I'll go straight to sleep and then stick them straight in. I like this because I do, I'm a big fan of horror comedies, which I actually saw a horror comedy yesterday. You know, that Sand Help was really good from what I saw. If you haven't seen
Nice.
that before, yeah, it was not what I was thinking at all. I mean, it really, well, there was a plot twist. I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen it before, but yes, it was Sam Raimi, which I really enjoy, and he, never lets make an Evil Dead and things like that. So that's I have to see this now. Um,
Nice.
but what I like about it is because when I watched El Hans the first time, I was I was going to say like like a preteen at the time, and this kind of really stoked me type of thing. If you got me, like teenage males literally lying about doing nothing, but but uh, but it turns out that they all both the friends get massacred by a possessed hand. That's all I can say about it. But I really enjoyed it, and I remember watching it recently and thought to myself, God, this does hold up, and this is what nearly 30 years later. Real.
Mm.
So let you go on, girls. Go ahead, sir.
My number three would have to be Insidious in alignment with the psychological aspects of horror. Insidious fascinates me because it takes psychic sensitivity seriously. In modern day society, I mean, there is some scientific evidence towards psychic ability, telekinesis, and it is just often dismissed. So stories like these intrigue me. The young boy isn't possessed, he's spiritually gifted, and he travels too far astrally and he becomes lost in an alternative realm. So they basically need to get a psychic's help to bring him back to his body. And obviously, there's a danger that a demon or an alternative entity could take over his body while he's absent on the astral plane. It's deeply compelling. I mean, the idea that sensitivity can be dangerous in a world that doesn't understand it, it's deeply compelling. The further feels less like hell and more like a liminal space, if I can say that. Liminal space. Somewhere between worlds,
Part of
basically,
it.
that feeds on vulnerability. You get completely absorbed in the concept of inherited abilities. Um, Another spoiler alert. So pause and skip this bit. The father obviously experienced similar things as a child, but's completely forgotten about it. And there's that sort of vulnerability that is preyed upon. So you get completely absorbed in the concept of suppressed awareness, the inherited abilities, and how fear grows when something isn't understood. So this is all new for them. So you're sort of going through it with them, and you're thinking, is she going to save them, or is something more sinister going to happen?
That's an interesting take on it. I mean, I've seen Insidious. I've seen all the Insidious. They're absolutely see the psychological thrillers. I love them. They're my, as you said, they're my top genre as well. I know in horror, obviously, but I think if you like something, then and reflects on you, then continue to see it. You said like Annabelle, like and Insidious type, but very similar type of films. I always thought. I know.
Yeah, they're sort of in the same sort of league that they've got a certain order to them, and they involve the couple that I keep forgetting the name of whilst we're on the podcast.
The Warrens.
I'll have to Google that. But the
Warren,
Warrens, thank you so much, Vanessa, for saving my life. Yes, the Warrens. So it's surrounding what the Warrens have experienced as a psychic couple, which interests me as well.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about Annabelle there, what's more scary, the real Annabelle, the Annabelle in the book, or just a plush toy?
She was a rag doll. She was basically a rag doll, and
that
the
scared me more.
Annabelle doll that the Annabelle that they created was a much scarier doll aesthetic than a little cute soft rag doll.
That's why they changed it for the films, I guess.
I think it was a copyright issue, because the original is actually a Raggedy Ann doll.
Oh yeah, because I suppose that's copyright and all that there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on the last two. I was like, between which one's one, which one's two, and the second would be Scream. It's very cliche. But growing up, I mean, I like teen slashers, and I love teen slashers and things like that. And growing up, I was, with the movies, I was a teen myself, I suppose. But as I said, the other day, last week I saw Scream in a jail cell, which is a great experience. I would recommend it to anybody. But and beforehand, they had like a restaurant thing called Cuffs, which I thought was a bit. That was very clever. I like handcuffs for like a logo. I was going, that's how you call cuffs then. But I really enjoyed it. I like the fact that I'm going to see the seventh one that comes out in a couple of weeks or so. I know it's not going to be as the first one will probably always be my top one. I don't know. Like they have gotten they are pretty much the same over and over the years. If you have ever seen them, girls. But I am looking for this one because honestly, Schumacher return. That's the only thing that I really want to see. Go ahead, guys. I'm going to be number one. This one is not known by a lot of people, but is Orphan from the first one from 2009. So I really enjoyed. I mean, I liked the genre beforehand, but this is my first time really delving into it. If you get me, and
yeah,
I remember
it's a great
seeing
film.
it and said, "Oh yeah, I love the sequel." I mean, third one, when it's the third one, I'm gonna definitely see that. I remember seeing it, and this is interesting. I mean, I don't want to get too much away if you haven't seen it before. A plot point at the end which I didn't see coming, but I was a teenager, so I was just watching it and it scared the life out of me. So he says, me walking home. Yeah, I walking home, and I couldn't get home. The only way was through a cemetery or a graveyard. I was going myself, this is very creepy. I hope there's nothing behind me, but it didn't stop me from seeing it the next day. There you go. So, guys, do you have any more comments or any more films?
And my number 4 is the Asian Tartan Extreme Korean version. A mistreated psychic child is punished and disbelieved in her village. And despite that, she tries to help people, she tries to warn people, she tries to support people in her community. When she dies, her eyes transplanted into a woman who inherits her abilities. So suddenly the woman can predict deaths, see spirits, warn people. And just like the child before, right, she's dismissed, pathologized, ignored. So what hits hardest for me is that the woman tries to save others anyway. So it's another, she's crazy, but she's still trying her best to prevent the tragedies she's seeing happen. So the horror isn't the visions, it's society's refusal to listen to people who see uncomfortable truths. And I prefer that version to the American remake. But I saw both that, The Ring, Grudge, all of those way before, America released their versions. My last one is one that probably isn't on a lot of people's horrors list because it's a bit more haunting, a bit more fantasy, but it's Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro? It isn't a traditional horror, but it is one of the most devastating films that I've ever watched, and I am always in tears at the end of it. Again, another mistreated child. She survives a brutal wartime environment, a sadistic authoritarian figure, a pregnant, unwell mother. The fawn offers her meaning, rules, purpose, something the real world doesn't give her. But the brilliance is the ambiguity. Is she escaping into fantasy to survive abuse? Or is she truly a supernatural being lost in the modern world? It leaves it so open to interpretation. But either way, the ending reframes her death not as defeat, but as release and return, which I find very satisfying because obviously after watching her character struggle through, you want good for her. So I'm pretty much more towards the supernatural being aspect because you just want her to be happy after everything she's gone through. But it is deeply unsettling as well as being beautiful and tragic. It highlights that the true monsters are the men in power and not the creatures. So that one always pulls on my heartstrings.
Yeah, it's
That's
beautiful.
right. Oh, it was a brilliant film. I remember seeing it for the first time when I was a child at the time, and it, I never cried. I never cried. Well, I have cried at films before, but that was the first one I cried at, even though I was young at the time. I know, not afraid to admit. I mean, as you said, it's not your typical horror film, but it's probably the first example of scariness that I've ever seen before, and
It leaves
it
its
was quite.
mark. It
Mm.
does. It leaves its mark. And if you do watch interviews with Guillermo del Toro, he does speak of his own supernatural experiences with somebody who's very open about his own spirituality and supernatural experiences that influence his work. Not everybody, is aware of that. I think that's why I'm drawn. And if you do watch anything by Guillermo del Toro, I highly recommend The Devil's Backbone. It's another
Mm.
tearjerker, but it is another one that leaves a mark on the soul.
Absolutely. My last three, The Lost Boys from 1987. It's an amazing vampire film. It's so amazingly of its time, but also still so relevant today as well, as it's sexy vampires and amazing, just fun, quirky characters. Definitely check that one out. Then Cat Sick Blues from 2015. That one's really weird Australian horror film. It started off as a short film, which I don't love as much as the feature. Definitely worth watching them both, though, to see the comparisons. This one does come with a strong trigger warning. There is some sexual abuse, there is some animal abuse. None of it's real, but it's pretty full on in places. So do be careful before watching that one. And of course, Jaws from 1975. I know it's a thriller, not a horror, but I tell you what, it scared the crap out of me as a kid. I think most people did watch it way too young, and it left a big impression. It has an amazing soundtrack that I think even if you haven't seen that film, you probably know the theme music. And it's just scary as hell. Careful when you enter the water.
You know,
It's still a
but
classic.
Oh,
Definitely
yeah.
still a
after
classic.
after seeing that for the first time, I was afraid to go in the water for a long time.
Yeah.
Still am like
I'm
that, you know.
lucky. I'm in the UK, so we didn't have anything to worry about, but obviously, dreams. Yeah.
There's a lot of sharks here in Australia.
But I was going to say, Vanessa's probably the most
China
worried
as
over
well,
there.
I think. America, Australia, a lot of dangerous creepy crawlies, more so than where I am.
Yeah. Suppose that
No,
wraps us up.
yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Hey there. Just want to thank Vanessa and Sarah for joining me, and I really enjoyed this time. I know, and I hope you've enjoyed this. And when it drops, I will hope that they have thousands of views. But you know, you never know. So take care, everybody, and good night.
Thanks for having us, and let us know which ones were your favourite. Do you have the same takes as us, or do you have different takes to us on the films that we've discussed tonight? So drop a like and a comment, and we might even have you as a guest on the My Creepy Cafe show. So thank you for watching, all three of us. This is Peter's My Creepy Cafe show. I'm going to sign off now and say bye, and leave Vanessa to say bye.
See ya. Yeah, thanks so much for having me as well. Big shout out to Perth horror fans, to Dr. Scary's Horror Mazes, and the Evil Popcorn podcast, where you can find me there as well. This has been so much fun, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, me too. Take care. I hope you all have a good night.
Have a good night. Bye.
See ya.
Bye bye.